Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of The Dark Place. I'm your host, Adam. And tonight we're going to dive into another outlandish and unbelievable murder. We're going to be diving in to the case of Daniel Petric. But before we do that, please go to the Other People's Show on Facebook, Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. Thank you once again for tuning in. As with all the cases that we discuss in this show, they honestly never get any easier as we progress and learn more. And this is another sad case of Daniel Petric. He was born August 24th, 1991, and Daniel is a convicted murderer from Wilmington, Ohio. He shot both of his parents after his father confiscated the game Halo 3. His mother did die, but his father managed to recover from the critical injury. So we're going to dive in to a little bit of this case. Now, Daniel Petric was nicknamed Danny, and he was a great outgoing kid. He was a regular teen, never really got into any trouble. He was involved in sports in Wellington, Ohio, and his home was nearby in Britton Township. And the news reports more often identified him as being from Wellington, but he wasn't. His father was a preacher, a pastor. His mother was also someone that a church-going family and wife. One student described Daniel as friendly and fun to be around. He was never really violent, and he was very enthusiastic about going to church and about the Bible and the teachings. There's nothing that would profile him of any source of violence. Now, Daniel, growing up, like I said, he was involved with a lot of sports. His dad was a preacher, a pastor. His mother participated in spreading the word, the gospel. Daniel was enthusiastic about playing sports, basketball, football, and he loved to ski, snow ski, and water ski, and enjoyed a lot of outdoor activities. Now, Daniel contracted a staph infection from snow skiing when he was a little bit younger, in his early teens. And we think, from the research that I've done, this is what actually contributed to his mental decline and his obsession with the game Halo 3. Now, when he was indoors from his skiing injury, he was homebound for over a year while recuperating from the severe spinal damage of the staph infection. He was told, listen, you do not need to run anymore. You do not need to participate in these activities and sports anymore. So therefore, that's kind of how his friend Jonathan Johnson kind of introduced him to the series Halo. It's a violent video game series about war and aliens. Now, I've never actually played the game, but it is rated M for mature audiences only. Now, Daniel's dad disapproved of this video game. He disapproved of the violence. Daniel's dad also said on multiple times that we had video games in the house that Daniel and I would play. We would play football. We would play a lot of sports games, racing games, Mario kind of games. But his father did not approve of this game Halo. So his father, Mark, had said, we're not going to have this game in the house. We're taking this game out. But before that, his son Daniel expressed interest in wanting to buy the Halo games, and he ordered him to stop playing the games or else leave the house. So Daniel's father, Mark, did not disapprove of video games, but disapproved of the violent video games that Daniel was starting to seek. So that was kind of what led to it. Daniel's dad was like, "You're not going to play those video games in this house. If you're going to play those games, you have to go elsewhere." So that's where Daniel went to his friend Jonathan Johnson for the weekend, playing the game for up to 18 hours at a time, sitting in front of the gaming system, murdering these aliens. I guess it's a first-person shooter game for 18 to 19 hours straight. Daniel, that was about a week before the shooting that happened. And Daniel had soon purchased a copy of his own game of Halo 3 without his father's knowledge. Now, when Daniel snuck this game into his house, his father saw it and he confiscated the game, but he placed the game, Halo, inside of a safe right beside a 9mm handgun. Just think his dad thinks, Mark thinks that he's putting the game away for his son. "I don't want you to play this," but he puts it beside a 9mm handgun inside the safe. On October 20th, 2007, about 1 week after the game was confiscated, Daniel found the father's keys, Mark's keys, to unlock the safe and go inside. He stole both the game and the gun. Around 7 p.m., Daniel went up to his mother and his father. He walked up behind both of his parents, and he said, "Close your eyes. I have a surprise for you." Mark and Susan closed their eyes. Daniel shot his father in the head. 2 gunshots. His father said that his head went numb and he saw blood pouring down his skull. Susan Petric died from her gunshot wounds in the head, arms, and chest. Daniel then placed the gun in his father's hands to make it look like it was a crime of murder-suicide, saying to him, "Hey, Dad, here's your gun. Take it." A few minutes later, his sister Heidi and her husband Andrew arrived at the house, planning to watch a baseball game that they were going to watch together on television. They arrived 2 hours earlier than was planned before they could enter the house. Daniel said, "Don't come in." He lied that his parents had been fighting. Upon hearing groaning, they forced their way into the house, and they discovered the aftermath of the shooting. Heidi called the police. Daniel drove away in the family van. And he drove away trying to escape to a friend's house. But he was arrested on the way, on the drive. Now, you can see video and footage of where Daniel has been arrested. He's being interrogated. He tells the police in crying detail, "My dad committed this murder. Why did my dad shoot my mom and then himself? Why did he do these things?" After being brought in to the interrogation, his story began to crumble. His story began to slowly dissolve. Daniel finally told the truth. He finally said that he had shot his mother and his father, and that he was sorry. Daniel said he was sorry And he went to trial on December 15th to December 17th of 2008. He went to Loudoun County Court of Common in Ohio. Now, the judge heard the pleas of Daniel. Daniel's father had recuperated and was able to testify against Daniel. At the trial, Daniel was cited crying and remorseful. His father was supportive and announced that the young man had come to deeply, deeply regret the shooting. He still does not understand why he did something so wrong, so terrible, Mark said of his son. I don't know why he did that. Daniel, also known as Danny, still to this day does not know why he shot his mother and his father. The prosecutor, Anthony Calio, made Petric out as a heartless killer. He showed no remorse for his actions, so he tried to claim that his father had shot his mother and was trying to commit a shooting and a suicide. He had planned the crime knowing that Heidi and her husband planned to enter the house at 9 o'clock, but his plot was foiled when they arrived 2 hours early. In a psychology report ordered by the defense, Petric had informed the psychologist that he had planned the murder of his parents for a week. So his dad is like, you're not playing this kind of violent video game in the house. If you play this, you're going to move out. He moves out to his friend's house for a week. He comes back in, and during that week off, he has planned what he's going to do. He has planned that he is going to kill his mother and his father. The defense said that no one disputes the crime. It's a crime that we know that Daniel did kill his mother and attempted murdering of the father. But the defense argued the insanity defense, saying video game addiction being the underlying psychiatric condition because of the enormous amounts of stress put on him due to the severe infection and result in spinal injury. Daniel was much more susceptible being influenced by a video game. Had he not been playing the violent video game for hours on end, he did not realize that shooting his parents would end in their true death. The defense argued that Daniel really thought by killing his parents, they would somehow come back just like they do in a video game. Now, Petric was convicted of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, and tampering with evidence. Due to his age, he could not be sentenced to death. The judge sentenced him to life in prison with a possibility of parole after 23 years. Now, right now, Daniel Petric has been incarcerated for going on 15 years. He has 8 more years to go before he's able to be up for parole. In a case like this, one might ask, he has shown no violent or psychiatric or anything wrong with him prior to this. What drove him to commit this crime? Was it the lack of going to church, where he didn't have the word in his home anymore? He'd replace that with this violent video game? Did he truly get absorbed in the video game, where it's countless hours upon hours of shooting and murdering and killing these aliens? Did that seem to cast a doubt in Daniel's mind of what was possible? Did he truly think, if I shoot my mother and father, they aren't really dead? Did he truly believe that they would come back? Or was he truly a monster that had pre-planned this event for a week in advance to kill his mother and father. He stole the keys. He got the video game and he got the weapon, the 9mm, out of the safe. He told his mother and father to close their eyes. I have a surprise for you. And then he shot his mother and father in cold blood. There's many, many ways you can look at this crime. I'm not here to say one way or the other. I'm only here to say the facts. In video games, especially by the judge over this case, thought that video games had a greater impact on Daniel than I truly think that they did. Just because you make or watch a violent video game or a television show or a movie does not mean that you can go out and commit these horrible acts. It doesn't. I cannot even understand really the logic thinking if I'm watching these violent games, playing these violent games, watching this violent movie, that it would make me want to go out and commit a heinous act. I don't see that happening with me at all. But maybe Daniel Petric had some kind of mental diagnosis that we don't know about. Nothing that I could find in the research would suggest that. In the aftermath, this case has been highlighted in papers and articles regarding video game addiction and the video game violence. Halo 3 publisher Microsoft commented briefly, "We are aware of the situation, and it's a tragic case." Petric is currently serving his sentence at Grafton Correctional Facility and will be eligible for parole in 2030. Now, when speaking of the case of Daniel Petric, it, along with many other cases, brings to mind how much parents should know about their children and their children's mental health. The child should not be left alone and let a television or a video game raise them. They need love. They need nurturing. And yes, they do need you to care. And they need to know that you care. Sometimes parents are careless. Where did Mark leave the key to the safe? Apparently in a place where Daniel could have easy access. Is this Mark or Susan's fault? No. Daniel chose to act because he was denied something that he wanted. When people don't get what they want, often they act out. They'll yell, they'll scream, make up lies, make chaos, or in this case, kill someone. I feel sorry for Daniel Petric. I feel sorry for his father, Mark. And I feel sorry and sad that his loving mother, Susan, was murdered. All because of a video game. All because of the video game, Halo 3. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of The Dark Place. I do appreciate you joining me on this journey tonight. You can join every Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. right here on the Other People Show Facebook page. If you want to join, there's other avenues to listen. Spotify, TikTok will lead you there. Instagram, obviously Facebook, and WMMT Whitesburg. Please go to their website and look at all the information there. Next week, we will delve into another crime. And until then, leave the light on and know your surroundings. Good night.